Then we've got to reform the CRP, the conservation set-aside programs, and to make sure that we have land. I'll tell you, the grain business is pretty good today for the farmer. We're seeing higher prices than we've seen in the last 10 or 15 years. Cattle market's good, lamb market's good, because and then our responsibility is to make sure markets stay open for those who produce. And we must get more of the consumer dollar back on the farm than we're getting now.
Thank you. Do you want your 30 seconds?
Well, I'll tell you, as I talk to farmers, they'd like to get away from subsidies. Quite frankly, they'd like to get their check from the marketplace. But right now, there isn't the kind of competition in the marketplace to get that job done. We need to work on encouraging more competition. That's why I talked about that revolving loan fund. We have to have profitability in agriculture, or we cannot stay in business. I think there's tremendous opportunity in the energy to increase that profitability. And finally, as far as the CRP goes, I can tell you with cellulosic ethanol, we may have a solution for our CRP acres that can provide both good habitat for game and energy for our people.
Thank you. Now, next question from Dean Hall.
We all know that Montana's average per capita income is far lower than the national average. Yet we also know that Montana's salaries are like the rest of the nation's in at least one respect. The amount of money you're likely to make is directly tied to how highly educated you are. Montana currently gets an F for the affordability of a college education in this nation. Too many Montana kids have to take on so much debt to go to college that they're forced to leave Montana for better paying jobs elsewhere to pay off their loans. I'm not interested in what you have done in the past in terms of this question, but what you would do in the future. What would you do as a senator to turn this trend around?
We've started an all-new way we approach education. And that's a good question. We see a lot of our students who graduate from high school and they don't want to go to a college or a university where there's a 4-year curriculum. They just want to go to work. We've changed our schools of technologies, like here in Great Falls. We're now teaching and training for the jobs that are available here. Let me give you an example. At MSUB in their School of Technology, 2 years, after having lunch with one of the refinery managers in Billings, I learned that he was going to lose half of his workforce in 5 years due to retirement. Where am I going to go for a workforce that knows how to work in a refinery? You know what we did? We set up a 2-year curriculum of refineries. Now that young man or young woman can go on a 2-year certificate there and walk out of that school in 2 years and walk into a $40,000 or $45,000 job. That's where our training really has to be. And I will tell you, don't put down our schools of higher learning. Montana State University now, who is in the top 10 of attracting R&D dollars, and mostly to our efforts with the president, Mike Malone, of years ago, and Jeff Gamble today, and at the University of Montana, and yes, at Montana Tech, and yes, here in Great Falls. The investment is working. More people are getting better educated, and you know what we're doing? We're providing more jobs as a result of that technology transfer into our public ways right now.
Mr. Tester.
Graduated from the College of Great Falls in 1978, almost be coming up 30 years here pretty quick. Private school, and my folks were able to pay for my way through it some 30 years ago. I've got a daughter that went through Carroll College. We couldn't do that. She came out with loans. I've got a son that's a junior at the University of Montana. Same thing. He's going to come out with loans. The shift that's happened over the last 30 years has been more emphasis on the tuition paid by the student and less emphasis on the support by the state. Last session we tried to give 12% increase to higher education. Sorry I went there, Mary, but I had to do it. That's the first time that's happened in a good long time. I think that we do have a great university system here, and we need to encourage kids to go there, whether it's through the College of Technology route or whether it's through our 4-year institutions. But we need to increase our Pell Grants. I think it's critically important. I would push for it. I would show a leadership role in that. We need to make our low-interest loans more available. We need to have workforce dollars for kids who want to work their way through school and make sure that that's not limited. And finally, for the students who want to go in areas where there's critical shortages, education and healthcare come to mind, there should be a loan forgiveness program to encourage those kids to go into those fields where there's good paying jobs so they can stay in this state and not have to go somewhere else to get a job to pay off those loans.
You have 30 seconds if you would like for rebuttal.
More kids are staying here, and I would say the tuition and low interest loans is probably what Pell Grants have gone up substantially in the last 6 to 8 years. In fact, it probably grown more than any other part of the grants that goes to higher education. We continually to spend more. And also in low interest loans, I will tell you the one that wanted to raise the interest on low interest loans was my good friend from Massachusetts, Mr. Kennedy.
There we go. Time is up. Now to our next question from Teresa.
Mr. Tester, small businesses and family farms are the core of the economy in north central Montana. Does the estate tax place too heavy a burden on small businesses and family farms? If so, what would you do about it?
It's a great question. It's a very timely question. I will tell you what needs to happen with the estate tax. First of all, is the exemption needs to be run up to about $5 million per person. That will take care of 99.9% of the farms and percent of the farms and small businesses in this state. And it needs to be made permanent so people can plan. I just can't believe we have an estate tax at any level in this country where it's not permanent. You got to have it so people can plan on it. These businesses have been in the family for years, and if people are allowed to plan, they're able to pass it along to their kids. And I think the $5 million exemption figure is reasonable, and it doesn't give a tax break to folks like Paris Hilton.
Senator Burns.
Well, do I hear you changing position on making the extenders permanent in the tax relief that we gave the American people, or they gave themselves in 2001, 2, and 3? I think I heard some hope there. Maybe we might be able to get that done. Because if we don't make the extenders permanent and the taxes relief that was passed by the Congress by a huge bipartisan move, that I will tell you by the year 2011, a young person making $18,000, their federal taxes will go up 48%. And for a family of 4, they will go up 58%. Now, I will tell you that falls on 336,000 people who live and work and are here in the state of Montana. And you know who they are? They're the middle class. They are you and I. And I will tell you that is wrong. So I'm glad to hear that the senator from Big Sandy, Montana, has finally seen the light and would support us in making those tax breaks permanent. They're important to us. They're important to small business. Now, he happened to raise taxes on 16,000 small businesses. I don't think, and he'd already tried to do that, but he done it. And but I don't think that there's very many tax bills that he's not liked. He's voted on a lot of them. And I would be cautious about rhetoric, talking the talk, but walking the walk.
Thank you. John, would you like your rebuttal?
As a novice debater right here in this very facility, I was told you can't falsify information. Senator Burns, it's too bad you weren't a novice debater in high school. I have said from the get-go, $5 million exemptions were adequate for our estate tax, not total repeal. As far as the extenders, you bet. Marriage penalty, let's make sure that that's done away with. College tuition tax credit that you voted to take away, that ran out, I say we ought to have that. That helps 11,000 middle-class families in this state. Child tax credit, keep them. It helps the middle class. And that's what it's about, and that's the difference. You're helping your K Street lobbyists, I help the middle class, the folks that are sitting in this room.
Thank you. Now to our next question.
No, please, don't. Please.
Jim.